Hi, I'm Dr. Papia Bhattacharjee. In this problem, we have a power series. It's the series x over 4 to the power n. So x is the variable. And in this problem, we have to identify first the center of this power series, and then we have to write the first 5 terms. So let me first remind you what a general form of power series is. So in general, a power series looks like summation an x minus c to the power n, ends from 0 to infinity, where these an's, they're all functions of n, there is no x in it, and then we have the variable, the x component here. And so when the power series is written this way, then this c is the center of the power series. Okay, so take our given power series and rewrite it in this form, and then we'll be able to figure out what the center is. Okay, so let's try that. So the series is x over 4 to the power n. All right, let's rewrite it in such a way that we separate the n component from the x component. Okay, so let's just keep the x by itself and take everything out of it, anything else that's attached to x. So the first thing you see, there's an x in the numerator and 4 in the denominator, and both of them raised to the power n. So very first step should be you separate them into 2 separate entities. So in the numerator, you write x to the n, denominator, you write 4 to the n. And we can do that using the properties of exponent, right? A over b to the power n is a to the n divided by b to the n. Now, as soon as you have done that, notice that here is the x component in the numerator. And the denominator doesn't have any x, so that's the an. Okay, so let's rewrite it one more time. So it's 1 over 4 to the n, keep it as it is, and then we have x to the n. So like I said, look, this is now a n. And then the rest of it should tell us what the center is. So it should be written as x minus center to the power n. But it's just x to the power n. So what is the center? How can we rewrite it? X minus what to the power n? Well, since there is nothing else, there is 0. And therefore, center is right here. This is the center. So the center of this power series is 0. Okay, so that concludes the first part. Now, we have to write the first 5 terms of this power series. So let's do that. Now be very careful. When you are writing the terms, you have to plug in n values, n equals 0, n equals 1, and so on. Don't make a mistake by thinking you have to plug in the n values in x. Okay, x remains as it is, n changes. So the first term is when n is 0. So you get x over 4 to the power 0. Okay, so that's when n is 0. Then you add, because this is a sum, then the next number is n equals 1. So x over 4 to the power 1. That's for n1. Next, n is 2. So x over 4 square. Fourth term is when n is 3, so x over 4 cube. And finally, fifth term is when n is equal to 4. So these are the first 5 terms, and then you keep going. We don't need to write the other ones. And let's just simplify a little bit. So to the power 0 means it's 1. And then you have x over 4. Then x square over 4 square, x cube over 4 cube, x to the 4 over 4 to the 4, and so on. So these are our first 5 terms of this series. So that concludes this problem. Thank you.